Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing okay. I feel like I say this every video recently, but I did not mean to leave it so long. I feel like that kind of goes without saying these days. I'm still not very well, and I probably won't elaborate, but the stuff that was going on last year is just still ongoing. And it just keeps finding new ways to mess me up, which is very frustrating. I was gonna film earlier in the week, but I actually finally got a new nail put on my messed up finger. You might remember that I hurt it in October and it was a whole thing. And then eventually, because of the damage internally to the finger, the nail fell out. And then I was waiting for it to grow back out properly, and I really took my time with it. It takes a long time to grow a whole nail anyway, but I didn't want to rush the process and get a nail put on too soon. But it finally grew all the way out, so I thought I would wait until I had nice hands again. Today is Saturday. It's the Saturday before Easter in the UK, which means we have a big bank holiday weekend. And I'm actually home alone, so I thought today might finally be the day to sit down and look at some pages. To be honest with you, week to week I haven't had enough going on to film anyway. Some weeks I really only make a couple of pages. I'm going to go through the whole of March because that's what I have in here, but as you'll see, there's not masses to show. I have been maintaining my system though. I've been maintaining my binder, and I keep kind of like finding comfort in knowing that that means the system works. The fact that it like expands and contracts to fit however much I'm doing. For example, in February I was busy and I had a lot of days where I was very busy and I had a lot of pages as a result, and it worked. And then March was kind of like the polar opposite and I had very few pages, but it still worked. And so that's a nice thing. Not going to preamble then too much after already preambling. The front is still exactly the same. I have Ian Curtis on the front here and I have a little angel sticker. Key is still on the elastic band. Coffee loyalty card is still here. I still have a little cover page. I still have my calendar index. And then, I need to add something because I booked with my dad to see Corn in November. Very excited. I've been listening to Corn since I was a kid. Actually, one of my oldest friends sent me a picture of us the other day as children. It was horrifying. It was really bad. But on the floor in the bedroom, you can see my Corn backpack that I used to take with me to high school in like the first year of high school. Some things never change, I guess, but that was really funny. They're playing at the O2 in November, and we managed to get tickets, and I'm super excited. They're one of those bands, a bit like My Chemical Romance, that I've been listening to for such a long time that I couldn't even tell you exactly when it started. And I'm excited. So I need to add that on here. And then books, I finally finished this Legacy series. I have been reading this and I'm not gonna ramble about it again this time because I feel like I did that the last two videos, but I finally finished this series. As I said previously, a lot of people start the first book and like stop reading. They don't finish it, they don't like it. Now that I finished all four books, and it's a lot of pages, the first three are around 700 pages long, and then the last one is like almost 1,000 pages. The character growth and the development and the way the story unfolds and like the intrigue and the politics and the secrets, for the love of God, the secrets. It's very good. I had a really good time. I would suggest if you have a high tolerance for characters that are not great in the beginning but then kind of go through like a very long redemption arc, and if you like kind of like back and forth banter, then it's kind of worth a try. I don't know what it was about them, but they just really hit the spot for me. And I got to the last book and I was literally rationing myself like 10 pages a week, or a chapter a week, because I was not well and I was so unwilling to finish it and then to have that world be gone that I just like couldn't cope with the thought of it. I did finally finish it, and then I reread The Raven Boys. I was going to reread the whole series, but I didn't in the end. I just read The Raven Boys, which I love. It's like a very quick comfort read for me. I can do it in like 2 sittings, and it was very comforting again this time. I want to read the rest of them, but I'm not gonna lie, I started my little thumbnail page with like a lot of black covers and the Raven Boy covers are so, like, they feel very dated to me. And I really wish they would get an update. I feel like every other series gets so many new release covers and the Raven cycle has just had the same covers the whole time. I know that's a very petty thing to not reread about, but I like some consistency in my thumbnails. At the moment, I'm reading the next Prince of Sin book by Kerri Maniscalco. I think it's called Throne of Nightmares, and I saw that a lot of people didn't like that one either. But so far it's okay. It is kind of poking a bit of fun. It's a bit like the protagonist this time around is a prolific reader of like romance novels and like fantasy novels and like dark romance novels, and so there's a lot of kind of like flippant language around the idea of people who read them, but it's just fun. I think it's just a bit tongue-in-cheek, like you just have to roll with it. It's fun. And I do kind of love that series at this point. We're like 8 books in, and this one is the spin-off series, and I find the world itself quite comforting, and so it's just one of those ones I'll always pick it up regardless. So that's books so far. I really dragged my feet with this last one, but now I'm making some progress. The next book I'll read will probably be Arachnid by Ophelia. I read the first one and it was called The Poisoner, I think. And that was quite a lot of fun. It was very dark romance. It was very like proper enemies to lovers with a vampire. And I do love a vampire. So I think I'm probably going to read the sequel. So that's books, and then my migraine diary. As you can see, I had more green days in February than in March. I actually emailed the neurologist last week and found out I'd been discharged. Literally the horrors. So now I have to try and get a referral to the actual migraine clinic, because they have to take it over basically. No one told me that that was happening though, so I really appreciated that. But this month has been not so good. It's mostly just orange and red. It's been a time, not going to elaborate, it's just sucked. Perfume, this is something that I want to talk about because I think it's fun. I've been trying a lot of new perfumes recently. I think I went through these ones, and then I tried these ones from a company called Barre, B-A-R-R-E, and I liked a couple of them, and a couple of them I really didn't like. One of them smelled like honeysuckle, and I really liked that one. This one, it was called Outlaw, and I kept thinking like, okay, if I had to pick a scent for Undermoss, which is something I kind of always casually keep an eye out for, then I think honeysuckle has to be one of the smells. Like when I smelled it, it smelled so green and so lovely, and it really reminded me of like, I don't know, long grass and kind of like those warm spring days that are kind of overcast, and I was like, okay, that has to be one of the smells. I didn't enjoy the rest of them so much. There was one, this one, Dolly, that it reminded me of ballet class as a kid. It smelled very powdery. And then this month I tried a couple of Toskovat perfumes. I had been waiting for these to come back in stock from the decanting service I use in the UK. And they didn't, and I went into the store actually and they told me they weren't getting them back in. I guess they've been dropped, or they chose to be dropped, whatever happened. So they're not going to be stocking those at any point, and I was like, okay. So in the end I ordered them from Scent Split, which is an American decanting service, and I have them here actually in case anyone wanted to see. They arrived like this. I got 5ml bottles just because I've been waiting so long to try these 2 perfumes specifically that I was like, I can't be dealing with 2ml. I need a bit more to work with, especially if I'm going to pay to import them. I just want enough. I can smell it like a few times, a good number of times. They're almost like nail polish bottles. So I haven't actually tried Inexcusable Evil yet. I'm waiting till I'm in the right mood. But I have tried Last Birthday Cake, which is what first introduced me to toskovat. Someone in one of the perfume subreddits said they wanted to smell like a house fire at a birthday party in 1905. And I was like, okay, that's very specific. But now I want to smell like a house fire at a birthday party in 1905. It's something my dad and I keep joking about because, like, yeah, I want to smell like that. And then everyone in the comments was like, there's only one perfume for this, and it was Last Birthday Cake. I tried it. I really like it. I don't think it packed as big a punch as I thought it would because of its hype. Like, toskovat has a lot of kind of like mystery and hype surrounding it. I feel like it's partly manufactured for scarcity reasons. But I do like it. It smells like when you put out a fire and it's damp, like if you go camping or if there is a fire, if you've walked past a house fire and it's kind of like wet ashes, it smells like that. And then it dries down and it smells like vanilla frosting, very specifically like vanilla frosting. And so you do kind of get this like blown out birthday candle effect from it. And I think it's stunning. It's so cool. I just built it up into this like mythological thing in my head. I've only sampled it, I think, for like 2 days, and I'm gonna probably try it again tomorrow. I really like it. I'm still invested. So I've written my notes here. It has a lot of perfume notes in it, and then so I only had a couple of lines for my review. And I think I'm gonna go back and add a heart, because what I do is the ones I would buy, I put a heart next to. Realistically, am I ever gonna buy a full sample of toskovat? Probably not. But if I ever had the opportunity, perhaps, I would choose Last Birthday Cake. That's Inexcusable Evil. And then I tried these two from an American company called Sorce, spelled S-O-R-C-E. And I chose these because they're called Vampire Husband and Vampire Wife. And one of the notes for the husband one is blood. And I thought that was really interesting. I tried that one first when it arrived. And it was a lot, actually, because it was so much. It was so intense. Even just taking the cap off the spray, like the decanted spray, it was so intense that I was like, oh. And like that one was so bad that when I took the cap off Inexcusable Evil, I was like, oh, that doesn't feel so bad. And Inexcusable Evil is meant to have this reputation of like really like psyching people out of it. But Vampire Husband, this one at the bottom with the red ribbon, I don't know about that. It smells like if you've ever had a really bad nosebleed to the point that you've had like all the blood kind of like running down the back of your throat and choking up your nose and you can't breathe through it. It smells like that. It really caught me off guard. I thought it would be cool and like spooky, and actually it's just like, it's a lot. It was very interesting because then when it dries down, it smells like petrichor. So it literally ends up smelling, and it has these like floral accords, and it ends up smelling like an open casket in a damp cemetery, and then just like so much blood, which, you know, is not particularly wearable, I would say, even for a goth girl who loves vampires like myself. Like, I was so overwhelmed. But it's very impressive storytelling. And that is part of why I love sampling perfumes and why I specifically always buy samples, because I am so invested in how interesting it is and how the storytelling works and how they create such specific scents and evoke such specific memories. It's become a real special interest, to be honest with you. So that was Vampire Husband, and I was a bit traumatized. I got to a point where I wore it in the house after showering for like 2 hours, and then I had to wash it off because I was like, it's making me nauseous. I used dish soap 3 times. I then used like oil cleanser for your face. I used that like 6 times. And then I used micellar water as well, and I could not get the smell off. It took days. I couldn't get the smell off. I've never had a perfume perform so well on my skin. And I was like, I don't know what this means for me. And then after I managed to get some of it off and it was kind of like less intense, it started growing on me, and I was like, I can't do this. Can't do this. The Vampire Wife, in contrast, was quite underwhelming. I ended up spraying that on top in the evening because I was like, maybe that will help. I do feel like they complement each other quite well, which is nice, for husband and wife. But Vampire Wife smells like wedding cake. It smells like almonds. And it's like a bit spicier and warmer, but it was quite underwhelming. I didn't find it had a particularly strong scent of anything. It just smelled kind of warm and understated. So those are the perfumes I've been trying recently. I also bought a new bottle of blood spider orchids. I went back for 5 milliliters of this one. That's this one here. Because I had 2 milliliters and I really liked it. I liked it so much that I ran the 2 milliliters out, I think, within like 2 weeks, which is quite unheard of for me. I normally have a couple of sprays and then I move to something else and come back. But I was carrying my blood spider orchid sample around and I ran it out. So I bought 5 milliliters this time. It's quite expensive if you want to buy a full bottle. It's kind of like just over £200 or something. So I'm not really willing to spend that at the moment, to be honest. But I did pick up the 5 milliliter sample so I could try it again and double check that I love it and I could have more to work with. And again, I'm already running it out. If you can see, there's like, I'm like maybe a quarter through it, and it only came last week. But I really love this one. It smells so good to me. It's kind of like spring, but in a warm, spicy way. I always think it smells a bit like toasted almonds, but that's not one of the notes. That's not in the accords. I just think that's kind of like the warmth it gives, and it's just stunning. I also have this one that I haven't tried yet by a company called Touch or Toouch. It's Touch with an extra O, called Smoky Graze. And I also got this one. There's a, why is there so much dust on it? I've only had it for a week. Rose Whip by Phlur. This one smells really good as well. Yeah. I just picked this up as like an everyday if I want it. These ones are a lot more affordable, which is nice, and I have a sample later on in my binder. So I normally order samples from a company called Bloom for anyone who's interested in the UK, and this is how they come from Bloom. This one is Skin Fetish, which was this one, and I loved this one. This one is so good. I've been trying to save it. I have a little bit left in the bottom. And that's how they come from Bloom with the paper. And then the other company I order from is called Small Aromas, and that's these ones with the little label on. I prefer this honestly because it's easier. I have a whole box full of these ones because they stock the niche ones, and I have to keep winding the paper around the bottles. I bought some little elastic bands actually and hoped it'll make it easier, but these ones are definitely my preferred sample vial. Okay, that's perfumes, and if you can hear me sniffing, apologies, I've had some issues with stomach acid in my nose, so my nose is a bit funny. I will try not to sniff. That's perfumes. I've been having a good time. This is something I discovered kind of like, well, my friend introduced me to it, and then I got really into it while I was on bed rest last year, just because I have a very sensitive nose, and I find that scent is a very easy way to like ground yourself, or it works very well for me anyway. I really enjoy smelling nice smells, and I have a very specific scent profile that I like. And it's just a really nice pastime, to be honest. And it's affordable. If you're only buying sample vials, then they cost between like £4 and £13. So £4 and then like 1, 3, 13. Unless of course you order toskovat samples from anywhere. But generally speaking, it's a very affordable way of doing things, and I enjoy it. So that's perfumes. I have my road journal bear in here, little guy. And then so for March, this is the end of February. This was my calendar for March. Coffee and undermoss things. And then my weekly logs. I started a newsletter for undermoss. I can't remember if I talked about this in the last video or not, but I started a newsletter and you can find it in a couple of places. I post it on Patreon, and I also post it on Tumblr. I made kind of like a Tumblr blog for undermoss just to keep everything in one place in a way that's easy to browse. Ideally one day I'll make my own kind of like Neocities or something, but I don't really have the energy for that right now, if I'm being honest, and Tumblr is a lot easier to set up, so I just have a blog for that. And then I have a homemade bear. I saw The Bride in the cinema, Maggie Gyllenhaal's new film, and I wasn't sure. When I first watched it, I thought I really liked it, and then I was thinking about it. I think I was just like riding high on the vibe, because like visually speaking, it's beautiful. But I'm not sure. I feel like it had potential. It had a lot of potential, especially because the visuals were like down, but it didn't really live up to what the message could have been, I suppose. I felt a bit conflicted. I felt like it had too much going on. There were too many stories running in parallel and none of them wrapped up in a way that was satisfying or like interesting. So I wasn't convinced. I guess I'm glad I saw it in the cinema just to see such a ridiculous take on Frankenstein and the Bride. But I don't know how I feel ultimately. I'm very conflicted about it. I don't know, but I'm glad I saw it, question mark. It was very pretty. It was a very pretty film. And then these are my weekly pages. On some of them I'm not filling out the notes bit at the bottom. Normally I use that as like a review of the week or kind of like a summing up how I felt of the week. I've not been feeling so good, and so I've not been doing that. I've just been kind of like filling out the bare minimum, like just trying to get through it and then like full stop. And so you're going to see some empty sections at the bottom here. I might go back and add stickers potentially. I have this lovely picture of Wednesday on a walk, and I have a nice mossy tree because we went for a big walk around the canal. I bought a jacket from a brand called Heresy. It's a Celtic track jacket. It's so cool. And it came in this bag with stamps, beautiful like medieval style stamps. Big fan, and I took a photo of that. And then I have some undermost stuff, thinking about undermost stuff and also about being ill. And then I made these stickers. It says I'd rather be an undermost. It's a panel taken from the first book, the first volume. And I don't know if it will show very well in the video, but I made them so that the spiral is actually holographic. And when they first arrived, I thought maybe it wasn't effective enough because it's so small. But actually it catches the light in a way that just makes you wonder if you're seeing things, which I think is very fitting. These aren't in the shop yet. I just haven't been organized enough, but I will put them in the shop at some point. I was kind of thinking about bundling them up with something else potentially, so I just think they're neat. I'm very fond of them actually. So yeah, they're vinyl stickers, which is cool, and I hole punched one to put in here. Again, some days I just don't have enough words to say anything, because I'm not feeling well enough, and I don't know, I don't want to always be ruminating. So I just add a picture, and then sometimes I just don't write anything, and I'm trying to be okay with that. I'm not really okay with it, to be honest. I don't love how it looks. With this one it's okay because of the sticker, but it does bother me a bit. But sometimes life is just like that, I think. So I've been listening to the new Wet Leg album. I really like them, they're very fun. I normally listen to heavier music, louder music, but Wet Leg has such a fun way about them, and I love all the samples they use, the references too. It's very pop culture based, and I think that's really fun. So I'm quite fond of them. And then this is my Fleur sample for Rose Whip. I caught up with my friend, and we hadn't seen each other for, I think, almost a year. It was ridiculous. But we tried some perfumes because that is what we do. And it smelled so good, and that's why I went back to get the little spray. And I think this one is maybe like 9 or 10 milliliters, which is interesting when you consider that this one is 5. Like, how much of this is just packaging? But I went back for that. Here I have a photo of my little isopod. It rolls up and then it unfolds, and it's leggy. I really love isopods, big fan. And I've been umming and ahhing over getting one of these for like 2 years, and then I finally did it. And I have no regrets. I carry this around the house with me, and I take it with me on walks in my pocket for like no reason. I just really love to have him around. You will see him, he will be around. Took a photo. He's actually glittery. I don't know if you can see, but he's grey and glittered. It's literally perfect. And then a new week. Oh no, wait, I missed a page. So I started working on new pages for Undermoss as well. That's part of why I've been so distracted and kind of absent. The problem is that I would rather be in Undermoss than in my actual life at the moment, I think, in some ways. And so I wasn't meant to start working on a new volume yet, but I got to a point where I wanted to experiment with some stuff, and then I just got into it, and I was like, well, this is nicer than, if you can hear Wednesday coughing. I just got into it, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I just want to keep working on this. Shout out to my patrons and their endless patience, because I'm not sure it's what they want at this point in time particularly. But it's kind of, I think, all I have in me right now, which is a bit sad. But I've been working on an idea for an A5 book, so like A5 landscape, and then it would open flat this time, which is kind of what I wanted all along. As a big open flat book so that you can have it across your lap and kind of really feel like you're in the world. It's coming together well. I was meant to print some pages to show you, but I forgot. But I'll put them on screen and you can have a look. I've been working on adding more depth to the greens and kind of like the moss. I've been making it look a bit more like a video game because that's kind of always how I dream about it being one day. I don't have the energy or the time to try and learn those skills right now. But I do think about it for the future, and for the time being I thought it could be a video game style book, which I think would be cool. So I've been adding like an open inventory and kind of like character panels and like dialogue boxes, and then like commonplace entries kind of like stapled over the top and stuff. And because the pages are that bit bigger, there's a lot more I can work with and I can add more detail, and so it's been really nice to go back to those like specific locations from volume 1 and kind of like build on the detail of them and kind of like expand the scene a bit to give a better sense of space. So I've been doing that. I'm like 6 pages deep, which is nice. They're taking me a lot longer to work through because they're that much bigger, but it's been a good distraction. Another issue of the newsletter here. And then again, no notes at the end of the week. And then another week, this one is last week, I caught up with a friend and we managed to catch a showing of Romeo plus Juliet from 1996, the Baz Luhrmann one, in the Prince Charles Cinema. I love the Prince Charles Cinema. It is a very cozy place for a Londoner. And my friend had never seen this version of the film, which is like incomprehensible to me, especially because he's Catholic. Like, what do you mean you've never seen it? Good stuff, very good stuff. I had a great time. It's a great time, and like to be in a cinema with everyone kind of like giggling and having a good time also, it's just like, it's very cozy. So I have a photo of a coffee we had, and then a screenshot from the film. I didn't have much to say, I don't think, just because I've been so tired, so I filled the space with a picture. And then the next day I took a photo of my perfume samples, and I don't actually like that I did the same thing again here. I think this only works for me because the cinema ticket covers each page when it's not open, because normally that would be too much kind of going on. That's not the balance I like to strike visually. Like, I think I have problems with perfectionism, but I'm not sure. But because the ticket is so big and it covers things, I think it's fine. But again, I didn't have enough to say. Mostly I was just saying about getting a bigger sample of blood spider orchids so that I could test it again. And then I just have this picture from Pinterest that was uncredited even. Like, I just wanted something to fill the gap. So, you know, not ideal, but at least the week was documented and I took the photo and I put it in where it's meant to go. And then this is April, so as I said, March was rough, and I'm okay with the pages. I feel like they turned out okay. The month started quite promising with that lovely green walk I went on, and then it just unraveled, to be honest with you. But I'm working on undermoss and that makes me happy, and I'm smelling perfumes and that also makes me happy. Reading some books, also good, and just trying, like with a capital T and a full stop, just trying. So we'll see what happens. April for my calendar, I did this only a couple of days ago. Today's the 4th, I think, and I did this quite late. Normally I try and do it for the 1st, but I was procrastinating it, dragging my feet. Haven't even set up the migraine diary. Really procrastinating that one. But this is the vibe I went for. Brain scan from Undermoss, ghost cam with the recorder, and then just like the headphones and kind of like a tulip and some rain and a ladybug and an ant. So kind of like spring, but it's giving survival mode, which is very much the vibe. I think if I had to choose a month I struggle with most, March and April are up there for me. February still feels like winter. March very much solidifies itself as not quite being winter anymore. April is just spring. It's still quite cold here, but it's kind of like flip-flopping between being chilly and then being like very humid, and therefore very warm. So it's not actually cold at all. It's just kind of like there's a breeze every now and then. So I don't love that, but we'll see. This week I did fill out one half of my week, and then I have an entry. I've been listening to these really good kind of like goth DJ mixes from a channel called Book Club Radio, and the DJ I like is called Jojo Lorenzo. I want to be in the goth club and there isn't a goth club to go to, but I watch these and I listen to these. I download them actually and I watch them on my Mac, and they're such a vibe. I love them. There's a couple I like. I'll put the link in the description for you. I love it. And that is all I have. This binder, still the love of my life, very content. I still like the size. I'm trying to strike a balance between working on undermoss and working in here and kind of like writing stuff down. But as I say, my mood has been not so good, and so I'm not really writing in the same way that I usually would. I don't want to go back to pocket so soon, obviously, and especially because in May, once I get to May, the beginning of May, I have things to do. I've been planning a trip with my mother. We're going to go up to Scotland for a couple of days and look at bogs and some other mossy green stuff, some ancient forests and stuff, which I think will be really good. Don't want to talk about it too much because of that paranoia I always have about jinxing things, but we did get confirmation on our like accommodation yesterday, which is exciting. And we kind of worked out our itinerary. I'm not going to share that in advance, but hopefully it's going to work out and it's going to be nice and I'm not going to die. Hopefully it'll be manageable for me and we'll have a good time. So I don't want to jump back into pocket even though I'm tired and I'm not really writing. Obviously pocket would be more manageable size-wise and I wouldn't have to write so much. But then when May hits and I have more to do, and maybe in the summer as well, I don't want to jump over so quickly. I think I'm content in personal and I would like to try and stick it out for as long as I can. I don't want to always be switching between the two because that leads to a very inconsistent archive, which I don't love. So if I can stay put, then that's ideal for me at the moment, I think. But that is everything going on in my binder. I'm sorry that this video took so long. I have a couple of other notebooks I've been working in on and off, but I don't want to talk about those until there's enough to show. I've been writing by hand in a couple of places because I do still crave that side of it. And I think I'm settled now, but I will wait to show you. I'll probably make a dedicated video, an updated commonplace video, which would be nice. Okay, my voice is definitely starting, I think, to get scratchy, so I will leave it here, but thank you for watching, and thank you for your patience. I'm sorry about all the absence. It's really hard to think that I used to make videos weekly. Like, that feels like a different person. It feels like it was a lifetime ago. It kind of sucks. But I will still be here. It just won't be as frequent. At least once a month, though. I will come and do a wrap-up. And hopefully when I travel in May, I'll make a video about that dedicated. It would be very cool to do so. Phone storage permitting. But there we go. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you next time.